He is the chosen one. You must see it.
I gave Qui-Gon my word.
Is he the chosen one?
He is.
And it is the Jedi who will stand in the way of peace.
It's not whether or not we fight.
It's how we choose to fight that matters.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Force will be with you, always.
And I will not be the last Jedi.
Listening to The World Between Worlds, a Star Wars podcast where we have been marathoning all of Star Wars and lead up to The Rise of Skywalker. This week, Season 2 of Rebels continues. We're talking about Season 2, Episode 3, The Lost Commanders, Episode 4, Relics of the Old Republic, and Episode 5, Always 2 There Are. My name is Yates.
My name is Jessica.
My name is Jordan.
My name is Keats.
The clones are back. More Inquisitors. More boomerang lightsabers. But more importantly, big bongos, and more importantly, the characters we love are coming together in new and exciting ways. In the first two episodes, the rebels are reeling from their defeat at the hands of Darth Vader, and Ahsoka sends the Ghost crew to scout out some old friends of hers that both have intel that could lead to future rebel bases, other sorts of infrastructure. More importantly, we already know these gentlemen. These are some of the clones from the Clone Wars.
What do you want?
We're looking for someone.
Well, that's too bad, because there's nobody out here.
Hey, does the number 7567 mean anything to you?
What did you just say?
I said 7567?
I haven't heard those digits in... Well, that's my birth number.
Birth number?
They're clones.
Jay, Ordan. Door opens up. Clone troopers walk out. What was your reaction?
Tears.
All right, chill.
Crying.
Tears, crying. Okay.
Crying. I was waiting for Jessica's reaction.
And
honestly,
were you disappointed?
It took you a little bit to realize who it was.
Yes, I was interesting. So, and I like the lead up to it as well, with Ahsoka being like, I know someone from my past, and it was all mysterious, and I kept thinking who could this possibly be?
Yeah, the weird part was you responded to 7556 or whatever the number was. You're like, oh my god.
It clicked. That was so amazing!
It was really cool, and then it was like, that's my birth number.
They could have just let it go. They could have just fucking let that entire plot line go. And then Dave Filoni came into the picture and fucking brought it full circle.
Everything about how they were used here, I thought was really, really natural. On the nose and natural.
I was so happy.
The fact that they were retired, the fact that
that they served the Empire. I forgot about that detail.
Yeah, well, I guess that kind of the whole thing seems kind of
so realistic.
Yeah. The Empire, they're not going to kill them all, but they're just going to be what do you... their whole purpose was to be soldiers, and now that they're not, I found the whole way that they live to be interesting, and now they're really just everyday people. But
they're Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
Everyone's forgotten about them. They're stigmatized in society, and they I loved how one of them has PTSD.
Yes.
And I love how they had the freaking scar where they took their chips out.
Yeah, that
I
was
wanted
great.
more about that. I had questions about that. How did they know to do that in time?
It was at the end of the war. Our fellow soldiers, the clones, the ones we Jedi fought side by side with, suddenly turned and betrayed us. I watched them kill my master. She fought beside them for years, and they gunned her down in a second. And then came for me. Later, they said they had chips in their heads that made them do it. Said they had no choice.
I didn't betray my Jedi. Wolf, Gregor, and I all removed our control chips. We all have a choice.
Seeing Order 66 from Kanan's eyes as a kid was just hearing him explain what he went through was awesome, because we know what Order 66 is, but I feel this is the best explanation of it. Because it's so personal.
They showed it instead of just having us, we assume what it's like, but it's nice to actually see the interaction as it would happen.
Yeah, and you talk about Kanan's point of view, but we get really multiple points of view throughout the episode, and that's one really cool, again, just really great thing about the storytelling is how sort of seamless the history feels. But we get Rex's point of view and how he felt about the whole thing. We get Ezra as like someone who doesn't even know about that, really implying that just like, and even in the season finale for season 1, like Tarkin asks Minister 2, he's like, do you know what happened to the Jedi? She's like, I honestly don't know. All I hear are rumors. Like, we don't actually know what happened. And Ezra says the same thing here. He's like, I don't understand what the big deal even is. And one of my favorite parts was when Hera said, like, the Jedi and clones like saved me and my people when I was just a child. Like,
I never even made that connection.
Yeah,
because I think she was speaking broadly, just saying like billions of lives, including her own.
Yeah,
I was
and
just
I think I noticed. I don't remember what it actually sounds like, but I remember in that episode in Clone Wars, it was like all like really like pan flute type of music, and they played like a little flute thing when she said that, and I was like, oh wow, that's really sweet.
I love that too, because it also helped me like recontextualize the Clone Wars as like, okay, this wasn't just like gratuitous action, like there was a point. Like a positive point for this war from the perspective of the people within the story. I also loved all the stuff about like the clones calling Kanan like general, and he was like, he was a kid when all the stuff with the Clone War was going on. So he's just like, he was like in Ezra's position.
And also like in the episode the week before, a big part of that was that Kanan was like really concerned about like even being a part of like the military again. So like here he's like kind of like settled down and stuck with it, but immediately he's challenged on this again, just like, hey, remember what it was like, because this is what you've signed up for. And it's sort of like just a little karmic reminder for him that like this is what you're committing to.
Yeah, not to mention even like back in the finale of season 1, you have that scene with the Grand Inquisitor basically taunting Kanan about his past.
It was your master, Vilaba, who laid down her life for yours. Do you remember her last word to you? Her last and final breath before she died? You do, don't you? You see it in your sleep. You'll hear her voice when you wake. Tell me, Jedi, what was her last word to you? Run.
Without even seeing it coming, he was been mentally preparing for this situation to come up.
So like a raw nerve, like more than usual, like right now at this point in time. Right.
Now that I think about it, like all 3 of the main male characters in the show, Ezra, Kanan, and Zeb, like so much of their characters are about them being vulnerable and insecure and not feeling competent, and that's so beautiful. I only wish that there was a little bit more of that from the female side, which I know I always harp on, because, I mean, it's great to have strong women, but it's more great to have just realistic women. And I think that the male characters of the Ghost Crew were so interesting and compelling because they're so vulnerable, and there's so much room to grow and develop within their character. I mean, I think in this arc, like, I was really into Zeb's character as well, even though it was such a...
I thought he was gonna go underserved in this podcast episode, but seriously, I think he was my favorite part, like, of this whole dynamic between this ghost family and then the clones, just because he seems like so naturally fitting with the clones.
Yeah.
Like they're so like buddy with each other, even though they've like just met like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I felt like there was some like camaraderie between them of like his planet is like, or his group on his planet was like soldiers, and they were like, and they both have Australian accents.
And also like they're like the last of their kind.
Yeah,
that's true.
That too, and they're like they're so under threat and marginalized.
I love that they kept to the theme of like the clones and like whether they have free will or not, whether they're people or not, where he was like, when after he explained how he took the chip out, he was like, we all have a choice.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
that, I'm getting emotional right now. That got to me too. This episode was probably my favorite.
Well, also just how Kanan is like referring to them as clones. All of these characters are interacting with each other, and there are so many levels of like taking people's like humanity away from them within like the Star Wars universe. And all of the characters are interacting with each other within this universe. And like they're all interacting within this like spectrum of more human to less human in the eyes of others. Like whether that's a clone, a droid, a different species, a person from Lothal versus like an officer, a Jedi versus like a random citizen. And I mean, you see that in this episode too, because they were kind of treating Zeb like he was just like a piece of meat, you know,
as bait
like,
for the thing.
Because he's not human. All of the characters are interacting with each other and like trying to find this common ground, but so many of them, their humanity is less than in the eyes of others. It's so realistic as to like what will happen if we ever interact with things on like a galactic point of view. Like, how are we going to deal with that?
Jordan, thoughts on, I guess, overall connections to Clone Wars?
I like that Rex kept mentioning Anakin, not like name dropping him,
Yes.
but obviously we know the general he served with was Anakin Skywalker. And I don't know why I say it like that. It's crazy because right now we're in the timeline where we know Anakin Skywalker is Darth Vader.
And that was the last episode,
and
too.
The last episode, currently Ahsoka's investigating more about him.
It's almost like Ahsoka like just wants to draw Rex in, almost like for support for what she's gonna have to do.
Yeah, she totally knows, in my opinion.
She knows, but maybe she doesn't want to know.
Well, of course, she needs to do some more research too.
She throws out that Gandalf quote. That's a total. It's 100% ripped
What
from
Gandalf?
Gandalf. She's like, there are questions that need answers, and then Gandalf leaves for 40 years and then comes back. And so in Rebels, Ahsoka leaves for 1 episode and then comes back.
Oh, okay.
It's a kids show.
That's 40 years in Rex years. So
That's very true. Jessica, you were out for the last episode where so much shit went down. So we're not going to try and do catch up, but let's just say Ahsoka's in the picture now and Ahsoka's throwing around orders. Your thoughts, feelings?
Dude, they fucking upped the ante. They upped the fucking ante. I mean, it was so good in the like serialized format of antics and shit. And I was satisfied with that for 4 seasons of, just smooth sailing. But then they just like brought it to like not even the next level, like 10 levels up. And they did
the
it
flame
like,
is being fanned.
Oh, dude, they threw some kerosene on that fan.
That's the
flame.
kerosene that'll light the spark, that'll light the fire.
Of the
That'll
revolution.
light the fire.
But yeah, I mean, and it just seems very natural. And like, I like that they didn't just bring her back for 1 episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of the impression that Rex delivers on in this episode, where he's just like, I've had my share of the war, farewell. But then it's like, no, we gotta go back. These characters are too cool. We gotta go back.
Jordan, what did you think of the mech on mech fight at the end and in the sandstorm? I'll just say for me, it was like probably when I disengaged the most, and I liked the first episode a lot. But then, like, when we got to, like, it's basically, I guess, kind of like a World War II submarine thing where both of them can't see each other and they're just, like, firing. And
I was thinking,
talking about that part?
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the part where they were, like, fighting with the legs.
I'm just saying, like, overall, like, the whole Walker fight.
Oh, the Walker fight with, where they were fighting with their legs was, like, a bit outlandish. I don't know. I didn't really fuck with it.
That was my favorite part of the whole fight.
It was just, like, it was so weird.
I thought it was
But it was cool. It was still engaging. But I love
because we care about the characters.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was just cool seeing Agent Callus they rocked his world. Like they're out of their minds.
that was funny. He's like, they've lost their mind.
Yeah. I was actually like hoping he would die. I was like, maybe he'll die. Maybe this. But I thought that as far as action goes, I mean, it was a little bit more of an interesting action scene.
It was definitely different. Like, they wanted to do something different.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they were in the storm. And
Storm was great.
It looked very pretty.
The storm was cool, and I liked how they had to, like, use the Force.
That's the best part of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was probably set up for that.
And I would say the whole fight probably went on too long.
It was kind of the whole second episode, which is why I would say I was like more disengaged from the second one.
First episode,
for sure.
So
like
good,
the
though.
first episode, the
was great.
whole thing was just the big action set piece was catching the big fish. I mean, that was it.
Well, what do you guys think about that?
I liked that.
Spider worm.
That's the show I want.
It was a worm.
Of them catching a spider worm.
I just want to see spider worm catching.
I just like seeing like how crazy and ridiculous mundane things can translate into Star Wars. Like fishing is just like completely different and stuff like that.
Yeah, like when you say like, the old war veterans are just like living out in the country fishing, like that sounds
That's
like very
the equivalent.
realistic, but that's just literally the episode that we got, but they made a whole big thing of it. Keats, want to just talk about the visuals? Because I know you're hot on those visuals.
I was really hot on these veggies.
To say the least.
Those vizzies were popping.
All right.
Yeah, how about
Good
them
take.
colors?
That's all I gotta say. No, out of all of them, my favorite visual is just like all of them getting ready to bunker down when the sun was setting, and you could see like they finally caught the game, the big bongo, and they like finally mantled it onto their ship.
Yeah, it's like all orange and
Yeah,
like,
it literally looked like concept art. It didn't even look like a real show.
I loved. It's the coolest shot for sure of the entire show, in my opinion, is when Kanan and Ezra jump out of the ship when they come back.
Yes.
Like they're slicing open the AT-AT, and then just Rex like yells like just like the old days or whatever,
Yeah.
and just like that really like hit me, and I got super emotional.
There's lots of
That was
misty
great.
eye moments.
Yeah.
it was like just a super heroic shot, and I love just like the moment when they all just salute Kanan, and Kanan, like that's the last thing he wants to see is a bunch of clones saluting him, but like that respect is still there, and so he still acknowledges.
I
it.
love the whole Kanan clone dynamic.
Yeah.
With, like just him.
That was amazing.
I think this is my
terms.
favorite episode of the show so far.
It's
I
really
could
good.
honestly say there's been so many good ones, but this was just such a treat, like unexpected treat. I was not expecting this, and I think it's such a challenging thing to do, and like so often not done, where they will bring something back and give us that continuity, but not in like a very fan service way.
In Always 2 there are.
It's a lie because there's like 17.
Always 17 Inquisitors there are.
You're an Inquisitor.
Oh, good. I won't have to explain it to you. So, you know what comes next.
Run! I thought, what did you guys think about her?
I thought she was okay.
Why does her voice sound like that?
I was gonna.
I thought it's because of the helmet, but then it just
She takes
stayed
off-
the way
yeah.
when she took it off.
Because she's one of these, like, it's like a Ventress thing, again, of like a sexy Sith lady.
Yes,
Which
definitely.
I thought was kind of cool. I actually didn't find her that scary.
I liked her pink
No, I
gloves.
found her really sexy.
Oh yeah,
She has
I liked her how her nails were like, her
Sexy.
hands were
Yeah.
like weird.
I think she has the coolest outfit out of all the Inquisitors.
Yo, did she say that Ezra's hot?
Yeah,
She
that
was
happened.
Pretty.
She was like, "You're pretty," and he was like, "What? I'm 12."
Yeah,
like
he's
30.
She says
Totally
like
a Padme
she says like
Anakin
4
moment.
sentences.
Oh no! Again, we
child.
can't get away from this.
What?
I just
What would anyone say works the least about the new Inquisitors?
There's no like personal stakes involved. They're just kind of fodder for the protagonists to go
They
through.
exist.
They also seem like less intense than the Grand Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Like
So-
it feels
Yeah,
like
I don't
Inquisitor
feel
Chad
threatened.
and Inquisitor Stacy like enter the Republic station.
Man, I really
just-
wanted to go to the kegger tonight. I gotta hunt these rebels.
it feels like they're never gonna win. Like there's really no
Yeah.
stakes. Like they're not gonna win, and even just the way that they set it up of like we're gonna lure the other ones to us. No, you're not. That never fucking works. Like whenever you do anything slowly, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
Why
I
are they
was
walking
also-
so slow?
Well, I was also thinking like they had trouble like wrangling up like Ezra and Sabine, but they want to like call in Ahsoka and Kanan and capture them. Like 4 against like
Idiots,
2.
bro.
Like that's really gonna
It's
work.
not gonna happen.
Or if they walk in that slow, like constantly, they're not gonna get anybody.
Yeah.
What I do like about them is I like seeing the Sith people like be against each other, and
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that as well.
They can do more with that, obviously.
Jordan, did you dig the Scooby-Doo vibes at the beginning of this episode? Because I certainly did.
I feel like it was all over the episode.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely at the beginning, though, it's like, oh no, Chopper peeks around the corner, shines his flashlight. Are there ghosts? Like I thought that was cute.
I love Scooby-Doo vibes.
I love those Scooby-Doo vibes as well. Yeah, that was fun.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like that was bothering you about the episode.
What? Scooby-Doo
The
vibes?
Scooby-Doo vibes that, like, it seemed like it was being taken less seriously than other ones.
No, that didn't bother me. What bothered me is just that once again, it was like, oh, we're on an important mission. Every time we're on an important mission, something goes wrong and the Empire is involved. Time to, like, fuck it up by, like, pushing each other and playing.
Yet, hang on. In this episode, I was noting this. Because they were fooling around and trying to, like, outdo each other, Zeb gets stuck in the ventilation, and that's the only reason Zeb stays alive. So, by goofing around in this instance... By technicality, they actually end up getting saved.
If they didn't start goofing off in the first place, they would have seen the supplies they were looking for right when they got there.
That's true. I forgot about that critical shot. You're right.
It's just, it's like, I mean, the best part about that is that they didn't harp on that too much. Mm-hmm. And I loved how Zeb saved the day in the end and how proud he was.
Everyone seems to know everything these days. Truth is, I don't really stand a chance going in alone, much less with you. If we leave this space station, we will never see those kids again. I came here with them, and I'm not leaving without them.
This is an episode where Zeb saves everyone, Zeb and Chopper.
The more screen time Zeb gets, the more I love him.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the best.
I also just, even when Ezra's captured first, then it's just Sabine and Zeb, and I was even still happy then. I was like, cool, it's just an episode where, like, Ezra's the one that needs to be saved. And I thought that was cool.
Ezra had a good moment, though, where he, like, would sacrifice himself for Sabine so she could get away.
I like that.
And then even the Inquisitor says, like, oh, that's very Jedi of yours or something.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Because, I mean, he doesn't know. He could have died. She could have just killed him.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't know that she was going to capture
Definitely.
him.
It was a real moment of growth for Ezra because he genuinely didn't seem that scared. Like, he was really not lured in by her, like, torturing him for information.
Mm-hmm. She even mentions it. Like,
yeah.
How calm he's being.
Yeah, exactly. like she's getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And he's like, I grow more and more powerful every day. So it's like, it's nice to see the progression instead of just being like, oh.
Being told the progression.
Right, exactly.
My powers have doubled since the last time we vet count. Here's one possible complaint about the episode that I noted in my head. I didn't think this was a problem, but I'm curious if any of you thought what might have been a problem was that Kanan and Rex were kind of like having their development moments off screen that like, oh my god, we don't get along, and then by the very end they're like, okay, we'll get along now. Like, did that bother anybody?
It didn't bother me, but it was a little trite. It was a little bit like...
Now that I think about it,
yeah. It was shallow.
Yeah, it was shallow.
I think, though, if memory serves me right, they haven't actually, like, set aside their differences. Like, I think they get 1 or 2 episodes this season where they are forced to work with each other and, like, overcome some, big personality issues that they have. So, with that in mind, watching the episode, I was thinking about that. I was like... Basically, the whole setup for the episode, in fact, is that Kanan and Rex aren't getting along to the degree that Ezra just doesn't want to even be on the same ship as them. And that's basically the whole setup of the episode. So It's not like it's not important, and maybe that means it should have been given a bit more of its due. But
yeah, like even Sabine like saying like, hey, are you sure you made the right decision coming with us, so that they could like cut back to what's happening on the ship, or just so Ezra can like explain how he feels.
For me, just knowing that it'll be explored more later, I guess I just interpreted that as them, in their own small way, trying to find a common ground to, like, even talk with each other at all.
Do you guys like that Rex keeps, like, interrupting Kanan training Ezra and, like, trying to train him, show him, like,
I found it interesting because, like, in the previous episode, he's very, like, Rex is very conscientious of, like, oh, hey, there's some history here, like, I get it, like, Kanan needs space, he's not gonna like me right away. And in this, he's like, well, I've already got my pool on the Ghost crew, like, might as well, like, throw my weight around, like, in the room. So it definitely was interesting that he's, like, already... kind of like butting heads with Kanan in a more direct way.
Yeah, that seems like it does seem a little bit off that he would like get in between the Jedi training. But okay, here's one thing that I did like about like going back to the plot moving forward and like in between seasons is I felt like in these episodes you really get the sense of they're building the team out. And when they were like around there strategizing, I'm like, oh my God, this looks like the new sequels. And like when you get the Rebel Alliance and everything, like everyone's around the table and they're building the team. But I also liked how you saw that from the other side. And I think that's probably one of the best things about the whole Inquisitor stuff that they're introducing is they're like, well, we don't even know what we're up against. Yeah. Both sides are like getting bigger and stronger and more people, and neither one really knows the full extent to it.
Next week, we're talking about 4 episodes. If I remember right, they are all sort of standalone episodes, each focused on different characters. The first is Season 2, Episode 6, Brothers of the Broken Horn. Episode 7, Wings of the Master.
Oh, I know that one. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm excited for. Episode 8, Blood Sisters, and Episode 9, Stealth Strike. My name is Yates.
My name is Jessica.
My name is Jordan.
And my name is Keats.
And may our ghost crew be with you, always.